Good morning, everyone. My name is Daphne Dedry, and I will be your moderator for this session. I'm here to support both you and the presenter. So if you have any questions or need help with the Zoom interface, you can use the chat room at the bottom of your screen. Find my name, Daphne Dedry, and message me directly. I'll do my best to help resolve your concern. I want to welcome you all to Riverside County Google Camp Annual Conference. If you are connected on social media, here is the information to post any pictures or anything that you're wanting to send out. And if you're having any difficulty with the browser, with the Zoom, you can chat me, but if you have any issues with getting on, there's a red, I hope you can see my circle and I'm not certain, help button that you can click on for the SCAD and you can get information there. The meeting today is what's new from Google for education, and your presenter will be Thomas Dickson, and I'm going to turn it over to Thomas now. Thank you.
All right, good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. I am going to try to start off with a video, actually. So let me see if I can do this effectively. Okay. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, but there's no sound.
There's no sound. Okay. Hopefully that changes in a second.
Still no sound.
Shoot. Man, I'm bad at this Zoom stuff.
Do you have an alternative?
I can just send it out to you guys. You can watch it.
Hey, TD.
Looks like the volume's all the way down.
What's
that?
that?
The volume. It looks like the volume is all the way down. TD.
One moment, I gotta do this. You can optimize for streaming as well.
Okay. I don't know how to do it. I got to be honest with you. I'll just put it in the chat. You guys can watch it later. It's a very, very cute, amazing video just thanking teachers for everything that you've done over the last couple months, for all the things that you haven't been able to do over the last couple months. It's kind of just like a love letter to all the teachers out there and everything you've been doing. So thank you so much. Can everyone see my slides okay? Just want to make sure.
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. Cool. Well, I'm TD. Nice to see you all. I see a lot of familiar names in the room. I work for Google for Education. And this is a picture of me and my little guy, Rivers. He's 2.5 years old. He will most likely crash this meeting at some point in time. He actually crashed my meeting with the California Department of Education completely in the nude last week. So this is just the new normal, guys. We're just making it happen. I've been with the Google team for a little over 3 years now, and I actually started off as a classroom teacher in Chicago Public Schools. Was a high school Spanish teacher, and then helped start a nonprofit called One Goal, all about college access and persistence. It's actually coming to California soon. And then jumped over to Google about 3 years ago, and have been with it ever since. So very happy to be with you all today. Tell you a bit about how Google is thinking about everything right now, and some new solutions that we're bringing on board. My hope is that out of this session, you'll get at least 2 to 3 tangible things that you can bring with you that makes going back to the classroom, whether it's virtual or whatever the heck school looks like this upcoming school year, easier for you all. Really quick, one of the things that I think makes Google effective in the education space is our ability to take user feedback. We try to put the user first in everything we do, and that ultimately is teachers and students and parents. So if you ever see something that you'd like out of our products, or you think could be better or isn't working, don't hesitate to let us know. Use that help feature, use that feature request button so that you can let our product team know. I assure you, they look at that every single week. So I guess it's the future now, because we're all learning from our computers, and it's super weird, and we're in a global pandemic, and learning as we know it has totally changed. Sorry, before I move on, there is a bit.ly link that I threw in the bottom of every slide. That's just bit.ly RCOE in all caps, capital N, new, capital G, Goog. So if you want the slides, they're also in the SCED description as well. So I guess it's the future now, because we are not all learning like this anymore. We are actually not physically in schools all in rows with a teacher at the front. Now learning looks quite different. And this is actually a picture of one of my colleagues' kids teaching themselves how to code. And he actually walked in the room and was like, "What are you doing?" and had no idea that he was doing this on his own. So learning now looks very, very different. And what we've also seen is that we're seeing a ton of disruption right now. This is the director of UNESCO, who just said, never before have we witnessed educational disruption at this scale. And I couldn't agree more. I was just listening to the New York Times Daily podcast about how different countries are approaching reopening school, and they're just drastically different from anything we've ever seen before. So I kind of see this as I'm also an eternal optimist. I see this as a big opportunity for us. And how we're thinking about this is, like, everyone is now on the move and moving rapidly. And there's a couple different stakeholders we're trying to look at. There are students at the front and center, teachers as well, school leaders, and parents. And what we're trying to do is, when we're designing our products, we're trying to think through each of those different stakeholders and how they might be influenced by future releases, especially now when learning is taking place at home with a parent sometimes in the other room. They're also doing work or trying to take care of other students, and teachers are now teaching with their kids in the background, also learning somehow. So we're trying to think about all these things as we're developing our new tools. And I sent a survey out to a bunch of the school leaders that I have the privilege of working with, and just said, how's everyone feeling with all of this? And these were the top things that came up. And so what surprised me the most is that, like, these are extremely positive, like learning, ideas, being the best, getting support, working through challenges, collaboration. So that's like really, really heartwarming for me to see, is that, like, teachers and I think school leaders have really risen to the occasion and are kind of meeting the challenge where it is. So stepping back, like, what is the point of developing all these tools and giving access and training, and giving access to teachers, students, and training these folks? What's all this for? Like, what's the end game here? And a couple of years ago, we surveyed some of the top businesses that are Fortune 500 companies, what they were looking for when they hired new employees. And to our surprise, or not really to our surprise, the top things were really essentially the 4 C's. So you see, critical thinking, problem solving, teamwork, communication, critical thinking, creativity, essentially the ability to collaborate effectively, adapt, right, improvise, and think for themselves. And so what's cool about these days is that we're really able to facilitate that at scale through technology, if we're teaching the right way. So I always like to kind of like step back and before we dig into all the like cool and sexy new products, like what's the point of all this? And the point is to to prepare these students to be able to adapt, think for themselves, and learn on the fly. Because as all of us know, as from being a former teacher, no one hands you the perfect curriculum and you go ahead and just teach. You have to very much adapt that curriculum to your needs, to your students' needs, to your community's needs, and then constantly tinker that along the way and develop even new resources that are more applicable for your audience. So really quick, I'm going to skip this slide because this is all marketing stuff. So we are changing all of our, like, you're seeing this now, you're going to see this even more in a few weeks. We are changing all of our products to really meet the moment for distance learning. So that includes enhancing Google Meet, which I'll be digging into in a little bit. It includes consolidating our tools, which you saw in our classroom Meet integration. And then also making sure that teachers have more control. Now that you don't have students physically in front of you, classroom management just got a little trickier. And so we're adding more controls in so that you can have more control, for lack of a better word, over what's happening in your classroom when it's happening, so that it's under your purview. We're also evolving our programs. So we've launched a couple different initiatives. One is Teach from Home, which I'll talk about in a little bit, which is kind of a hub for distance learning resources. Two is Wide Open Schools, which is a ton of partnerships that we've built with a bunch of larger organizations, nonprofit NGOs, to leverage different resources there when it comes to SEL and lesson plans and other content that you might be needing right now. And then last is our Chromebook App Hub. And so this was launched about a year ago, and we have added all kinds of new partners in there, as well as different languages. And you're actually able to sort by types of applications now, and subject, and as well as grade level, to find different resources for your students. Last is just training. So the way that teaching is happening now, teaching and learning is happening now is different. And so we've been trying to really bulk up on resources for training. The first one is actually, that I would call out, is our EDU on Air sessions. So we've been trying to do at least a session every 2 weeks on a specific item related to distance learning, whether it's SEL, whether it is talking about equity in distance learning with your students, whether it is leveraging 5 of the top used Google apps in your classroom. So we're doing a ton of webinars. And then we've also updated our teacher center with tons of new trainings on how to use these tools specifically for distance learning. So this is a shameless plug, but it's also to reduce my email quite a bit. I send everyone to my very much not marketing approved website called gfewithtd.com. And what I do is about every week, I just update this website with all the different resources that are coming at me internally at Google, because there are so many. And instead of emailing all of you all the time to let you know about those things, I just throw them in my resources page. So check out gfewithtd.com. You can also provide feature requests, feedback on our products, as well as reach out to me directly. I'm going to just take a pause really quick, because I'm just going to answer some of these questions. Yes. Can you mute the students instead of students unmuting themselves? That is coming very soon, Paige. You'll be able to mute a student and keep them muted. Jamboard is great. Oh yeah, Jamboard. We'll talk about Jamboard in a little bit. Google's next steps in addressing programs specifically for early childhood education. Great question. We don't have anything right now for 0 to 5, unfortunately. Like, the majority of our tools have been for K through 12. However, I'll say that there is a lot of discussion especially with the Chrome team right now, about how to make that more applicable. And also the classroom team is doing some noodling about reaching those younger learners. and able to reorder assessments in Google Classroom. I don't know the answer to that question, but I can find out, Anne. Okay, moving on. So we are about to announce a whole hodgepodge of stuff next week at our Anywhere School 2020. Of course, it lands right before Riverside County's Office of Education, where I have to stay very tight-lipped. But I'll give you some hints as to what's coming down the line. Anyone can join this event. It's actually a super cool event because they're calling it a Follow the Sun event, where it's going to be global and different keynotes are happening in different countries as the day continues. But we're going to be making all of our major product announcements at this event. Some big things coming for Meet, some big things coming for Google Classroom. I just saw the Classroom presentation yesterday. There might be some things with more like SIS syncing. There might be some things with some analytics that would be really exciting. And I'll say the last theme is sharing content much more easily with students. Those are the three big themes that are coming out of the Classroom announcements. So anyone can register today, and it should be a really, really cool event. We are actually, since so much has changed in the last few months, we are actively taking feedback on Classroom right now. We have about, you can probably imagine, about 20 prioritized feature requests right now in Google Classroom. Some are massive, some are smaller. This link here actually has a bunch of those listed and ask you to stack rank those with what would help your teaching or what would help your students and parents the most. So if you get a chance, please fill out that Qualtrics survey. It'll directly influence our roadmap. For those of you who are either level 1 or level 2 or have been thinking about becoming a trainer, this is a great workshop that is completely free, done virtually. So we've seen a tremendous amount of growth in our trainer program over the last couple of weeks as a result of COVID. And so as a response, we're hosting these free workshops for you to, one, get familiar with what it takes to be a trainer, and then two, actually prepare for your trainer presentation and the exam. We've seen, my recommendation when districts ask is, I think it's great to have a certified trainer at every single school site to be your dedicated Google guru. But this is a great series run by trainers for trainers. Highly recommend it. Take advantage of it. There's also some of our amazing Google educator groups. This is actually one I wanted to highlight that I learned about recently because it's a global education Google group. It's pretty amazing. And they've actually put together a 3-day bootcamp agenda with everything that you could possibly imagine. And it's actually pulled out by different topics and different products. In some cases, like this might be for your more advanced users, but it's astounding. Like it's even better than our own Teacher Center, to be honest with you, because of how relevant they make the content seem specifically for teachers and students. So wanted to make sure I plug this resource for those of you out there looking to kind of brush up on your skills before the school year starts. This is another series called Thrive with 5 that our partner Kiker Learning put on. So the top 5 used Google apps in distance learning have been Meet, Classroom, Docs, Forums, Slides, and Sites. And what this series has done is actually gone through each of those in depth to train specifically on how you can use these effectively for distance learning. So each of the five sessions is digging deep into one of those. This is part of our larger EDU on Air series. And again, I mentioned we did one on equity and inclusion, how to have that conversation with teachers and among teachers and among students, as social emotional learning, as well as just generally how to collaborate among a staff when you're all teaching virtually from your homes. I'll take a break just for questions. I did see a group about small group learning. That was actually a top feature request, being able to group students in smaller groups in Google Classroom. There is also a feature coming soon to Meet called breakout rooms that I'll go over in a second. That will actually help, I think, with small group instruction. But right now, nothing to announce formally for small group instruction. Did somebody have a question? Okay. For those of you who work directly in coaching with other teachers, or are interested in getting involved with coaching teachers, this is actually a brand new certification that we're offering that's free. It's kind of in between trainer and innovator. And essentially it's a spin-off of our old dynamic learning project, which was all about coaching teachers on using technology effectively in the classroom to increase student achievement. And so this effectively is a new kind of certification that walks you through how to effectively coach using G Suite and Google tools, so that you can help teachers reach more students at scale, especially now with distance learning. So this is a brand new certification, totally free. We did a pilot a couple of months ago and got crazy positive feedback from it. So check it out, just launched, totally free, great certification. And we also improved our teacher center. So there, funnily enough, I still get confused because our old teacher center is still up and running. I think primarily because other countries are using it. The new teacher center is very helpful. It's where we house all of our certifications, it's programs. It's also where we house all of our teacher-specific training and product-specific training. There's some amazing free, easily accessible trainings that can help you get up to speed on new features or new products. There's a series called First Day of. So there's one called First Day of Jamboard, for example. And if you've never used Jamboard before, it walks you through all the basics of how to use Jamboard effectively in the classroom, so that you're prepared to kind of roll with that product. Or you might learn a couple new things about some new feature releases in new sites, for example, that you weren't aware of. So check out the Teacher Center. It's got a slew of great trainings that are, kind of paced the way you'd like to go through them, and really helpful and free. As I'm sure all of us are aware, equity, diversity, and inclusion are at the center of a lot of our conversations right now, in terms of how we build our products, how they show up in schools, and also how they help facilitate honest, real conversations. One way we're doing this was we partnered with an organization called The Conscious Kid that enables parents and teachers to effectively hold conversations and hold that space about those issues. You're going to be seeing more coming from Google on this very soon. It's been a major focus internally for us in terms of how we show up in the marketplace, making sure that these, our products, our tools, our resources are accessible to everyone, and also address those inequities. The Chromebook App Hub, I kind of mentioned very quickly. This is actually a really nice tool if you're wondering, hey, like I teach middle school science, I'm not sure what apps extensions are available. This is a perfect resource for you because you're able to sort that way. We also added a distance learning resources page on this that has all of the free services from all kinds of ed tech companies as a result of COVID-19. So another great resource, completely free, that you can access and filter based on your needs. And Bolo, which is what it was released as in India, now called Read Along. This is actually a really cool app that we launched about a month ago, called Read Along. And essentially, it's an app that teaches kids how to read out loud. And so it actually provides feedback as the student is reading it out loud. It's gamified and has badging built in. Right now, only available on Android with a future option to release on iOS. But as kids and parents are looking for educational content for their students at home, we've gotten great feedback on this assistive reading app. Okay, so Google Meet. Oh, awesome, and Andre, glad you're using Read Aloud. Hope you're having a good experience. So Google Meet. Back in March, we announced that we were making 3 of the premium features free in Google Meet through, at first it was July, and then we extended through September 30th. So those 3 features right now include recording Google Meet and saving directly into Google Drive so you can share afterwards, up to 100,000 participant live stream in your domain, so amongst your colleagues and your students. And then third is increasing the limit on Meet up to 250 participants. So those features are completely free until September 30th. And then after starting October 1st, you will need a Google G Suite Enterprise for Education license to access those things. However, we are building quite a bit for Google Meet that I'll talk about in just 2 slides. The other thing I wanted to highlight, hopefully you are enjoying the Google Classroom integration with Google Meet. Again, an example of teachers raising their hand saying it would be so nice and so easy if we were able to send students directly from Classroom into Meet. Hopefully that is going well. We're looking at further integrations with Meet and Classroom currently, but just wanted to share that integration. And here is what's around the corner. There are 4 things that are just around the corner, and I mean like literally like a week or 2. So gallery view is right now, I believe, up to 16 participants on the screen. Internally, we are dog fooding the new version, which has up to 49 participants on the screen at the same time. What's nice about that is when you're presenting, you're able to see many more faces on screen while seeing what you're presenting. So that's been a big favorite. Internally, we call it Brady Bunch view. Intelligent quality. So actually picking up low light faces. So using machine learning, you'll have a crisper picture of who you're speaking with on screen. A better presenter experience is already launched, so you're able to share a Chrome tab and share audio and video, very much like I was trying to do at the beginning of this session. And last but not least, background blur and replace. So this is going to be launching very soon, a blurred out background behind you, and then also a set of very googly backgrounds. You can make it look like you're in a Google office or sitting on a beach or like riding a horse. And then you'll also be able to add custom backgrounds as well. Here are some other big launches coming that we'll be announcing on, well, they've been announced, but we'll be showing off on Wednesday or next week. So the ones on the left are coming to everyone that has G Suite for Education, our free version. And the ones on the right are coming to G Suite Enterprise for Education, which is our paid platform. So hand raising, the ability to raise your hand in a class, it floats up to the top, and then the teacher's able to call on the student. Additional moderation controls, which is probably at the top of my list. I'll go through those in a little more detail. Digital whiteboarding, so a natural integration with Jamboard. So you'll be able to share a blank template in the Meet and throw a jam up on the screen, or you'll be able to insert a pre-existing Jamboard template for collaborative whiteboarding in a Meet. And then closed captions in additional languages. So hopefully you guys have been using the closed caption feature in Google Meet. It's actually incredible. It really does a great job of picking up what the speaker is saying or whoever is saying it. We're adding Spanish, French, and I believe German and Portuguese with more languages coming down the way soon. On the right side, on the enterprise side, this is the paid features. So noise cancellation is coming. So actually we were trying it the other day, and my colleague was sitting next to a laundry machine, and it was pretty crazy to hear. I could hear him perfectly. So noise cancellation coming, attendance tracking for the Meet creator. So at the end of the Meet, you'll get access to a dashboard that will have who joined the meeting when, how long they were in the meeting, and then if they were invited to the meeting, and then last, if any moderator actions had to be taken. So if they were booted out by the moderator, that will show in the report as well. So really helpful for teachers looking for attendance and learning time. Breakout rooms, we know this is a really exciting one for folks. So I just actually saw a demo of this, and it was pretty mind-blowing. So essentially, you say you want to have a breakout room. It automatically divides all of your attendees into different breakout rooms depending on how many rooms you want. There's a shuffle button, so you can shuffle your attendees or actually move them individually. And then you just pick your timer, how long you want to do it. And let's say 20 minutes, it pushes everybody out into their breakout rooms, separate Meet instances, and then there's a timer. And at the end of that timer, it sucks everyone back into the main Meet. It was pretty amazing, pretty seamless when I got to see it the other day. So really excited about that one. And then last, we partnered with the Google Forms team to do live polling and Q&A. So Q&A will be actually kind of like the chat right now, how folks are asking questions. You'll be able to upvote questions. So if students have questions, they'll be able to say, me too, and you'll be able to rank them based on how many votes each question has. And then polling, very much like a Google form or something like Pear Deck, you'll be able to push out a question or a poll to the audience and then be able to see answers live. And dig into it. Could be really great for, I think, for a check for understanding with your class of who's grasping the concept versus who isn't, and then be able to double click into those results and see who said what and where remediation might need to happen. So we're really excited about this group of features. They're anticipated at the precise launch date of sometime before September 30th. Thank you, product team, for that very precise date. I'm hoping you'll see a group of these launch in the beginning or the middle of August, followed by a second release batch in September. Right now, that would be my prediction.
Hi, TD.
Yes.
Hi, it's Daphne. There's a question about the read aloud. Is that free?
It is. Yep. Read aloud is completely free. Okay, so down the road for G Suite Enterprise for Education, we are going to be launching live translated captions. So if you have an international audience, we're going to pull from the Google Translate API so that you'll see live translations at the bottom of the screen for Spanish, French, German, Portuguese, and possibly some more languages that we're looking at. Some webinar improvements, so the ability to actually live stream outside of your domain. And then last but not least, Meet transcripts. So there are a couple of extensions that almost do this perfectly. This would be a native option to get a transcript of what was said by who when in a Meet. Could be helpful for group meetings where you're going back and looking for notes. And moderation features. So we know that teachers want more control, especially as you're doing meet meetings with your students. So this is coming to both G Suite Education and G Suite Enterprise for Education. You'll actually be able to end a meeting, hooray, and boot everyone out of the meeting so that everyone's off, the meeting's over, they're not able to rejoin. Or you'll be able to say, I'm just going to leave the meeting, it can continue. Blocking anonymous. So if anybody outside of your domain tries to join, it will automatically block them unless you add them to your allow list. 3 is mute all. So you'll be able to mute all participants and unmute all participants if you'd like. And then better knocking improvements. Right now in Google Meet, if someone outside of your domain tries to join, it actually is pretty disruptive. It actually comes right in the middle of your screen. There's going to be a dashboard on the right-hand side where you'll be able to bulk approve or reject. Meredith, I see your question. Check out my deck with the bit.ly link. And then G Suite Enterprise for Education is $2 per user per month. So about $24 per year per teacher. When do all these new changes go into effect? Well, that's a great question, Yvette. I wish I had a good answer. The answer I get from my product team all the time is sometime before September 30th. I anticipate a group of these going into effect in early to mid-August, and then a second batch later in September. I'm still working on that product team to understand that the beginning of school is should be like in early August, July. Still working on that one. New moderation, also other new moderation features, the ability to put in these locks. So the ability to block people from calling into a meet, the ability to lock down the chat and say, I only want to be able to send links out, or I don't want people to use the chat at all. Present lock, so that you can control who is presenting their screen or just shut that down. And then audio lock. So if you want one-way audio where it's just a lecture and you want students to just be quiet and listen, you'll be able to lock that audio so that it's just one way. I want to make sure I get these questions. Okay, a bunch at once. Teachers and everyone are struggling. Will Google understand this and make it free? I wish we could make everything free. I will say that we're still developing G Suite for Education actively, and we're still adding all of this stuff for free. Like the majority of these features are for free. There are some premium features that, because of all the work that the engineering team's putting in, we're charging for. For those of us who can't see our students very well on Brady Bunch Grid, will they be able to click? Yes, you'll be able to pin who you'd want to see on the screen during a meet. So you'd be able to say, I want these 4 students on my screen. Does G Suite Enterprise have to be? Yes, it would have to be purchased through your district and through one of our resellers. Yes, blocking feature will be great. And if we split screen, will you see? If we split screen, how many students will we see with the new update? If you are presenting, I believe I could see up to, I think it was 25 or 30 faces I was able to see while I was presenting. Will you be able to see private messages? I believe that's going to be a feature in the chat lock. You'll be able to see you can do private messages. Is the teacher student presenter included in the grid? Yes. Well, for the 49 faces, that's just when you're in a regular meet. When you're presenting, I believe it was 25 or 30 faces that you were able to see. Okay. For the sake of time, I'm going to push on and then wait till the end for other questions, because I think I've got 9 minutes. We've embedded Meet directly in Gmail now, which is really cool. So you're actually able to launch into a Meet directly from Gmail. You're also able to have it in your Gmail tab. So for example, if you're in your inbox, you can launch a Meet and you're able to have the video conference while you're accessing your email at the same time. For those projects where you're like, I don't know, let me check my email, you can launch directly in Gmail, go through that email as you're talking to the person through video. It's very, very cool. Teach from home, I had mentioned this is a great temporary hub of distance learning resources. They're just like really, really simple trainings to help teachers get started with distance learning. For example, you see like set up your home for video calling, start video with your class, how to set up live Q&A, like how to live stream your lecture, just like really simple, helpful tools to get you going, all video based. Guides for guardians. So parents and guardians are a big part of this effort as we're all teaching and learning from home. We put these one-pagers together for teachers to be able to, for parents and guardians to be able to use. They're simple breakdowns of like what each of these things are and how they impact the student. So for example, if they want to learn more about classroom, if they want to learn more about what privacy and security regulations are in place for G Suite for Education and student data, if they want to learn more about Google Meet, these are simple one-pagers that you can send along to your parents to kind of explain those tools and how they operate. I did see a question about breakout rooms and how they're monitored. Right now, you could include a co-teacher to be able to join those breakout rooms, but I don't know that there's a kind of like central hub where you're able to monitor all the breakout rooms right now. I think Go Guardian just announced they're doing something like that, however. Family Link is a really great resource. Family Link for your students who are using their own Chromebooks at home. This is a great resource for parents. It's kind of setting up guardrails for parents so that you can limit when students are able to access their Chromebooks, how long, and what specific sites or platforms or apps they're able to use. We've gotten great feedback. That's a really helpful tool right now. There isn't a charge for Family Link, no. Applied Digital Skills is also a really great free resource. These are video-based. Can this be set up for Chromebooks given by our district? So that's a great question, Yvette. This would be outside of that, since your district Chromebooks are probably enrolled and managed by the district, so that they'll have their own separate set of policies. Introducing the Applied Digital Skills series. So this is a group of webinar-focused trainings on how to use G Suite effectively in the real world. Think creating a budget using Google Sheets. Think creating a resume using Google Docs. And we've just updated and refreshed this training. It's completely free and also is kind of just plug and play. So you just rock and roll once you're plugged in. We've heard good things about this recently, since folks are looking for ways to keep students engaged after hours. And I think this is my last slide. I did see someone that mentioned they were a special ed teacher. There is a great 12-part video series that we've launched on YouTube and on the Teacher Center about how to leverage all the accessibility features that are embedded both in Chromebooks, Chrome, and G Suite, many of which, I'll be honest with you, before I took this training, didn't know about fully. So this is just now that all of our students are at home, this has some really great tips, tricks that you might not know about that students can leverage to make learning more accessible. These are especially needed right now as students are kind of on their own and can't have the teacher over their shoulder helping them out. So take a look at this free resource. Hope you find it helpful. I want to make sure I get Irma's question. I teach special ed. Is it possible to access students' whole screen without students sharing their screen? There is something called Chrome Remote Desktop that I would suggest you talk with your administrator about. That could be a solution. I heard personal Gmail is needed to access some platform. Is Google going to change that? I don't think you need a personal Gmail to access any of the platforms that I was mentioning. I think you should be able to access all of them using your G Suite for Education email. Okay, so I have a couple minutes. to answer any of your questions. So feel free to come off mute or use the chat, and I'm happy to take any questions y'all have. Let's see. If an assignment is already published currently, you are unable to add another document if you choose to make a copy for each student. Is this going to change? I don't know, Anne, but I will take that back to the team and find out. Also, feel free to submit that as a feature request on my site at gfewithtd.com, and I'll make sure I bring it up. Can teachers set up read-along accounts for our students? I don't think so. I think they would have to set it up themselves, and they'd need parental consent. What are some extra extensions I can add to my Google Classroom to make teaching easier? Oh, I'll defer to the crowd here on that one. Priscilla, I'm not sure about the presenter platforms. That's probably something for your administrator to answer. I know if you're using anything with G Suite, you're just going to use your G Suite for Education domain email. When scheduling assignments, can you schedule for more than one class at a time? I believe you can, but it's only through, right now it's only through extensions. If teachers can't monitor breakout rooms, the breakout rooms will be pointless. Thanks, Mrs. R. They might be. You know, you might want to set it up so that you're able to pop in those breakout rooms and monitor. But yeah, it's a technical limitation on our end for the teacher to be able to have oversight in all the breakout rooms at once. Is Read Out Loud only available at phones? Right now, I believe it's only available on Android phones and tablets. Oh, the MacBook question? I don't really know. I'm sorry. The background feature when we teach with Google Meet. The background feature is coming very soon. I believe that's in the first batch of releases, where you'll be able to, literally when you launch a Meet, it'll ask you if you'd like to change your background, or you'll be able to do it during the Meet, or do blurred background. Irma, good question. Right now, for the foreseeable future, it's just presenting a Chrome tab. There is a feature request to have it on all presentation modes, but I haven't seen it in development yet. Is there Yeah, I'd agree with Jenna. Like, go with Chrome. It'll probably work better. Okay, want to be respectful of people's time. I'm going to hang out for another minute or two and just answer questions, but I hope, my goal is that you would get 2 to 3 things out of this presentation. I hope you did. I hope you found it informative. I know it's a ton of information, but hopefully it's still helpful. And just on a final note, thank you. Thank you for all that you're doing right now. Like, you guys are literally heroes, teaching from home and making it happen for our kids. So appreciate you all, and great to see so many of you, and keep up the great work. We really appreciate it. The whiteboard feature hasn't launched yet, Irma, but it's going to be launching soon. Yes, you will be able to see which users are writing. Check out the Jamboard app from the Google Play Store, or if you just, you can actually, there's a web app as well that you can check out. Check out the Jamboard app, and you can get a sense for what it looks like. Awesome, Heidi. Hope you get a lot out of G Suite Enterprise for EDU. Is the teacher font with the 3 primary guidelines coming for us in slides? Julie, can you say more about that? I don't think I'm aware of that. You're very welcome, Yvette. Thanks for your questions. Ooh, what extensions do you? I have Meredith, and I think someone else was asking this. Is it Trisha? On my website, gfewithtd.com, I do have some recommendations for extensions for Meet in Classroom, so check those out. There's one that does transcription. There's one that shows, it's a grid view. There's like a, obviously like emojis and things like that. So check out my site. Maria, there is a feature coming that will take attendance on Google Meet. It will be a G Suite Enterprise for Education feature. Essentially, you'll be able to see who joined the meet when, and any moderator actions that had to happen. For example, moving a student, removing a student. You're right, Irma. It doesn't tell you who wrote inappropriate words. Although it should. I think I've actually reported that. Jenna, email me directly. Just try TD from Google at google.com. And I'll see if I can get you in. Yeah, Meredith, it's just GFE, like Google for Education, GFEwithtd.com. It's like the cheesiest named website of all time. The writing paper that kinder first graders teachers use. Oh, I see. I got you, Julie. I haven't seen anything, but I love that idea. I am going to write that down. I think that would be huge. We also just need more annotation options for students. Yes, totally agree. Okay. Yeah, agree. Yeah, my sister's a first grade teacher. I know she's been bugging me about that one too. I am going to take off since we're 5 minutes over, but thank you guys again. It was great speaking with you, and you all know where to find me. Just use my site. My email's on there. The feature request forms are on there. It's a good way to get a hold of me. And yeah, thanks again, and take care. Be safe.